Uh, Hi everyone. Thanks for joining in our today's webinar on how can renewable energy power India Inc., where we'll examine the choices and challenges that corporates in India face in going green through renewable energy. We'll wait for a couple of minutes and let some of the participants join in. We'll be starting in the next 2 minutes. I guess we'll start now. So thanks everybody for joining in today's webinar on how can renewable energy power India Inc., where we'll be examining the choices, challenges, and opportunities for corporates in India in going green through renewable energy. As you all know that increasingly corporates are committing to 100% renewable energy consumption, and COVID-19 has only whetted their appetite for renewable energy. In order to consume or procure renewable energy in India, corporates typically have a host of options that includes open access or accessing the renewable energy certificate mechanism or the recently launched green power trading platform on the Indian Energy Exchange. But navigating these choices can be complex and challenging, and that's what we aim to discuss and bring out in today's webinar. So today's webinar, how that's structured is we will present a short market snapshot of the corporate RE market in India. That will take around 5 to 10 minutes. Then then we at CW Center for Energy Finance will launch the open access tool, which helps any user to calculate the open access charges across states in India. And then we'll dive right into the discussion with Deepali Wankhede from Indorama Synthetics and Rohit Bajaj from the Indian Energy Exchange. My name is Nikhil Sharma. I'm an associate with the Council on Energy, Environment and Water. We are one of Asia's leading policy research institutions. And at the Council, I work for this team named the Center for Energy Finance, where we actively track and monitor the clean energy markets and develop financial solutions to attract capital in the sector. I'm joined by my two fellow panelists, Ms. Deepali Wankhede. Deepali is a senior manager with Indorama Synthetics, Nagpur. Indorama is one of the leading polyester manufacturers in India and has been one of the firsts in going for procuring electricity through open access. Deepali has a rich experience of around 14 years in power management, exploring various avenues to source economic power for the industry and power regulatory functions with respect to manufacturing industries. Welcome, Deepali. We really hope to learn a lot from your experience at Indorama in open access, in power trading, as well as the renewable energy certificate mechanism.
Thank you, Nikhil.
On the other end, we have Rohit Bajaj, who's the Senior Vice President Business Development at the Indian Energy Exchange. Rohit has over 26 years of experience in energy domain, especially in the power and oil and gas sectors. Prior to IEX, he worked at the National Energy Trading and Services, where he led power trading business of the company, overseeing the short and medium-term power sales through bilateral and power exchanges, serving as the whole-time director. Prior to NETS, Rohit worked at Lanco, Amarkantak, Avanta Power and Infrastructure, Reliance Industries, and Jindal Stainless. He has extensive experience in power plant operations, strategic planning, commercial power sale, including long-term PPAs and regulatory matters. Welcome, Rohit, and thanks a lot for joining in. We really hope to learn a lot from such an extensive experience in the power markets in India.
Thank you, Nikhil.
Now I'll briefly be presenting the current market snapshot of RE corporate RE market in India. So let me share my screen. I forgot to mention a few points of hygiene for the audience. Please feel free to write in your questions in the chat box. We'll be taking the questions in the end, in the last 15 minutes. So please feel free to write all the questions. I'll be briefly presenting the current scenario of the corporate RE market in India. As we all know, and as I mentioned earlier as well, increasingly corporates, especially large corporates, have been committing to 100% renewable energy consumption. And this has only accelerated in the last 1 year in the aftermath of COVID-19. And these companies include corporates like ITC, Tata Motors, Mahindra & Mahindra, and few others like AB InBev, Infosys, and Amazon. And the motivation behind these companies going green is not only in terms of sustainability, but also for reasons which are beyond sustainability, for economic reasons. As we know that with the declining solar and wind tariffs, renewable energy has become really cheap. And this makes corporates reduce their operating costs by shifting from grid electricity to directly procuring green energy through solar or wind assets. Also, increasingly, businesses are now or are going to face pressures from the investors and banks in the future in showing green credentials. As I mentioned earlier, there are around 3 mechanisms through which a typical corporate, which is an industrial or a commercial consumer, can procure renewable energy. And one of the most popular and most widely adopted mechanism is called open access, which enables a company or an industry to directly contract with renewable energy developers or develop their own captive generation projects. Now, the catch here is that typically, or in a normal way, a corporate procures electricity from a DISCOM. But in order to transfer the consumption from DISCOM to open access, there are a host of charges which are levied on these corporates, which kind of challenge or make the access of renewable energy through open access a bit questionable. A bit on the trends on how open access has been faring in India. In the last 3 years, from 2018 to 2020, the rate of capacity addition has slightly declined from 2 gigawatts in 2018 to around 0.8 gigawatts in 2020. Now, the reason for this may be manifold, but one of the key reasons has been that many of the states which have high open access capacity have been imposing various charges such as cross-subsidy surcharge, additional surcharge, which has made the viability of open access RE capacity difficult in these states. And some of the other issues with open access that keep getting highlighted in various discussions are, one of them is the frequent revision and complexity of charges. So there are a host of charges that are levied, which could be SLDC charge, the STU charges, the CTU charges, additional surcharge, cross-subsidy surcharge. And these charges vary across states And the way they're levied across states, the methodologies for that is also complex. So overall, it makes it difficult for a typical corporate to figure out that which state should he take open access supply from. One of the other issues also in open access is that because of the intermittency of renewable energy assets, that creates balancing in the grid of a problem, which has been seen in the form of states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, imposing banking restrictions and limiting the banking from yearly to monthly, and other states like Rajasthan, AP, and Madhya Pradesh withdrawing banking facility. Also, one of the key issues that keeps getting highlighted in the open access is that most of the consumers or corporates keep switching between the discom supply and the open access, which makes the power sector planning for discoms and regulators a bit difficult. And that's why probably open access is a bit infamous, and discoms don't really seem to like it too much because it also takes away their revenue share. Uh, as I mentioned earlier, that one of the key challenges in open access has been the levying of regressive charges or increasing open access charges. Many of the states, to name a few, Karnataka and Haryana, have recently withdrawn their waivers on the various open access charges for solar and wind. The slide here briefly captures a heat map which captures the key RE-rich states and the waivers for various charges. The red cells clearly highlight, the red cells mean that there is no waiver, and green cell means that there is 100% waiver of that charge. So we can clearly see that Karnataka has withdrawn some of the waivers in the last couple of years. Andhra Pradesh has limited has stopped permitting banking facility. Coming to Maharashtra, Maharashtra has also imposed one of the charges called grid support charges, which is a new charge imposed on open access consumers. So yeah, all in all, these complexity of charges make it difficult for these corporates to navigate through RE open access in India. The next mechanism, which has been recently introduced, is the Green Power Trading Platform launched by IEX, which was launched in the month of August 2020. Though initially the mechanism was very well received, and we can see that from August to October, the volumes of the GTAM market really increased. But in the last few months, the volumes have declined as majority of the sell side liquidity has been coming from discoms, which due to the lean season of solar and wind during November and December, have not been able to provide as much liquidity as in September or October. Some of the key participants in this market segment include Haryana, on the Haryana Discoms, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, and Tata Power Distribution. And corporates include Jindal, Vedanta, and Dalmia. In the last market segment is the Renewable Energy Certificate Mechanism, which was launched a decade ago. This is primarily to enable the RPO compliance by overcoming geographic and physical limitations of its underlying commodity, which is electricity. So states which are not RE rich can buy RECs and instead comply with their renewable purchase obligations. But due to a petition which has challenged the revision of the floor price of the REC trade, the market trading is currently suspended since July 2020. And we can also see that the prices have been declining over the period of time. So this is a broad picture of the three mechanisms that are there in India and the avenues for corporates to go green in India. Now I'll quickly demonstrate one of the recent tools that we at CW Center for Energy Finance have launched. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the key issues with open access in India is that the charges are complex and they keep getting updated every now and then. and they're very different for all the states. So we at CEF have developed this tool called the Open Access tool, which demystifies open access and helps you calculate all the charges for an open access consumer in India. So I'll take a few minutes and do a brief demonstration of the tool. I hope my screen is visible. So the tool can be accessed on the CW Center for Energy website, which is cef.cw.in. And you can go to the Solutions Factory section and go to the Open Access tool. The tool has broadly three features: open access tariffs, RE waivers, and compare states. I'll quickly describe each of them. So the open access tariff feature helps determine both intra-state open access and interstate open access charges. You can get a detailed breakup of the charges here, say for solar captive in the state of Karnataka. What are the open access charges? And if you want to know the detailed breakup of these charges, the STU charges, losses, CTU charges and losses, you can get a detailed view. It also describes what's the maximum potential savings that a typical corporate consumer, an industrial consumer in this case, can save if he shifts from the DISCOM electricity to open access. And here in this case, the case is for solar captive in Karnataka, and he can save 2.75 rupees on each and every unit which is shifted to open access, considering the grid tariff of a variable grid tariff of 7 rupees. So this was for the intrastate open access. A user can also calculate the open access charges for interstate. Say the injection state is Karnataka, where injection state means the state where the power plant is located. This automatically calculates that where will the corporate consumer save the maximum in terms of his economic savings when shifting from DISCOM electricity to the to open access supply. And you can play around with the filters here. You can also select the withdrawal state, say that is Maharashtra, which will give you a view that if the power plant is located in Karnataka and the consumer is located in Maharashtra, then this will be the various open access charges. Again, detailed view can be seen here. Quickly on the next feature, we've also encapsulated the RE waivers in the form of a heat map here. So you can compare the states across various different charges and how states are promoting renewable energy open access across these states. The summary of the waivers is also available in the form of downloadable PDF. So you can get the waivers of open access charges across all the states across here. And the last feature is where a user can select an injection state where the power plant is located and select appropriate withdrawal state where the consumer can be located and compare the charges. So this enables a consumer to see a typical corporate consumer to compare states and know that where will I get the maximum savings. Yep. So that's a bit about the tool. The tool really is aimed at both RE project developers as well as corporate consumers in figuring out which state to go for open access in order to maximize their economic savings. So, yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, that was a bit about the tool. Feel free to write questions to us in the chat box or write to us in our email if you have inquiries about the tool. Now let me straight away dive into the discussion on open access and understanding that what are these on-ground challenges in India's open access as well as GTAM and REC market that are confusing or challenging the corporates in India from procuring green. So I'll start with Dipali first. So Dipali, you come from a very rich experience in the industrial sector, where you might have explored various options for going green or procuring directly with a project developer. So, what are Indorama's some of the plans in going green or procuring direct renewable energy, and what are the mechanisms that Indorama typically adopts for this?
Basically, as far as Indorama India is concerned, we have not sourced any green power till time, but we are planning some expansions at our Butiburi plant, and for that we want to have a RE power. And presently we are exploring the options of rooftop, and our management is very keen in going forward for the group captive proposal. See, rooftop is a limited capacity rooftop, and again in Maharashtra, it's very difficult to have even rooftop because behind the meter rooftop solar they have charged the grid support charges for that, which is around 5-6 rupees or more than that.
Right.
So even we are not able to install the rooftop solar, it's not viable. So the best option which our management likes to explore is the group captive.
Right. Can you help describe what is a group captive mode?
Yeah. Group captive is a model where a developer, a group of companies having 26% of share in equity can be a captive member of that particular generation facility. So
Right.
it is not discoms are discouraging this type of model, especially even in conventional energy. Electricity rules are expected to be amended, and then more clarity will be there on this group captive model. So every industry, every corporate is eagerly waiting for these electricity rules, which are in draft stage since last 4-5 years, I think, if I'm not wrong. So group captive, some states also discourages. They don't have the group captive proposals. They don't allow in their states. Like in Gujarat, they have recently launched the solar policy, but group captive concept is not there in that. So that is the most viable, with industry. From industry point of view, it's the most viable, supposed to be the most viable source of
I
power
suppose
for RE, basically.
I suppose the viability is coming from the fact that no cross subsidy surcharges are
Yeah,
imposed
no cross
for
subsidy
group
surcharge,
captive mode. Right, right,
and the investment will be in limits, say 26%, and collectively the group, because for RE power we require a lot of land, like, straight land at the temperatures and the wind speed, everything, which is not available in every state. The
right,
conditions are not there. Say for like Maharashtra, we have a good light, say almost 8 to 9 months. Solar will be a very successful model in this area, especially in Vidarbha. But since the state government policies and central government policies are keep changing, so nobody is really moving forward for the investment.
right. Right. So, I mean, taking a cue from that on the most adopted mechanism for corporates to go green in India, Rohit, I'll come to you. As per your experience, because IEX has been dealing with, all the mechanisms, be it RECs, be it the GTAM, or be it normal day ahead market under the captive as well as a third party model. What, as per you, is the most widely adopted mode by corporates? Is it the RECs? Is it the GTAM, or is it the open access? And why is it so in India?
Yeah, Nikhil. First of all, thanks for sharing that the model that you have developed, calculator. It is very informative. We would surely be using it going forward. And for the
Right.
crisp presentation for context setting. To answer your question, Nikhil, I will just go back and try to talk about. Let's analyze what exactly is required by the industry. What is their actual need? So today our day-ahead market is hugely successful because today we have got more than 4,500 industries registered with us, and we know state of open access in the country, right? Not many states are promoting open access. Recently, in last few years, we have seen open access charges going up, additional surcharge being imposed, and states are trying to make it uncompetitive, right? And even after that, if we see on ground, open access has been doing fairly well. Last year, our open access volume grew by close to 20%. This year also, we are seeing similar sort of 15-18% sort of growth, in spite of the fact that 2-3 months industries were not operational because of lockdown. So, why this growing preference is there in case of day-ahead market is because of two reasons. One is uh, exchange day-ahead market provides, or any spot market provides flexibility to the procurers. As an industry, when I am placing my bid on day-ahead basis, I have very robust forecast which is available. I am aware of my demand which is going to be there next day, and then I can take call. I can change my quantum for every 15-minute time block. I can buy more during certain hours, less during zero during some other hours. So all that flexibility is available to me. And second important thing, why this market is hugely successful is this is the place where you get most competitive price, right? Power exchange, if you see globally also, this is one place where the concept is price discovery, right? Both buyer and seller, they are placing their best bets, and on the basis of their best bets, one price is discovered, which is uniformly applicable for all the participants. Now, if you see, if suppose you are a generator, what would be your best price? Now, if you are a generator, then ideally your best price is your variable cost, right? For or your marginal cost for additional 1 unit generation. What is your marginal cost, which is your normally your coal cost or transmission component? There we have seen some changes in the sharing regulation, and you are placing your bid on the basis of these just two numbers, and then you are the price taker. Eventually, you are the price taker. Whatever the price is discovered, you will be taking it. Now, precisely for this reason, we have seen day-ahead market doing very well. And on the basis of our success in day-ahead market, about 2-3 years back, we started working on creating renewable market as well. So renewable, as we all know, today we have one mechanism available, which is called REC mechanism, wherein buyers, all the participants, they can meet their RPO, renewable purchase obligation, by buying RECs, and uh, all those open access consumers who are participating, they are regularly participating in REC segment also. There are certain states where they do not have enough long-term PPAs in place for renewable, and they are also coming to the open market for meeting their RPO. Now, to meet this requirement, this need of industry as well as state, initially we thought of creating GDAM, Green Day Ahead Market. So that was the
Right.
initial thought. In fact, we went to regulator in 2017 or 18 somewhere, and then that time it was rejected. Our application was rejected. Our petition was rejected on the ground that regulator had apprehension that point in time that there will not be enough liquidity in place. And to run a day-ahead market, which is more of a closed auction, collective market, you should have enough liquidity. Otherwise, price discovery probably will not happen, and it will not serve the purpose for which it has been created. Now, after a lot of deliberation were done, we consulted so many participants, both from IPP side, developer side, and also from the consumer side. And finally, we filed petition for term ahead market, which is little different from our normal term ahead market, and which got approved. And as you rightly said, in the month of August, we introduced this market. Now, Let's see how this has been doing. It is doing fairly well. I won't say it is doing exceptionally well, but it is doing fairly well considering that this is a new marketplace which is there, and nobody was aware of this market that it will come one day, and hence there was not enough merchant capacity available in the country. Today, if you talk about, and what Dipali said is also very right, entire capacity which is there, entire generation which is there in the country, that is tied up under, most of it tied up under long-term PPA. Otherwise, we have some group captive model or third-party open access model where you have a contract for 6 months to 1 year sort of thing. And these mostly are intrastate contracts. So today,
Right.
not enough capacity is available. There are a handful of generators, 4 or 5 generators who are there. Some states which are overachieving their RPO commitment, right? They are meeting their RPO requirement, and in both the segment, whether it is solar and non-solar, collectively they are overachieving. And these states are the major sellers here. So I can name them also. Most of us are aware. Telangana is one, and then we have also have Karnataka. So these two states are major sellers here. And buyer side, you have shown in your slide, there are open access consumers also, industries also, who are taking advantage of this market. And today, when REC is not being traded on account of pending order from Apple, the
Right.
sole reliance is on this green market to meet your RPO commitment. So we have seen very good participation coming from states. We have seen very good participation also coming from consumers, and I would say this market is doing very well. Now, the second part of the question that you wanted me to ponder upon. So, are there certain things which are missing in the market? Do we need some more enablers? Are we giving fair play or level playing field to all the different segments through which trading is happening? I have very serious concerns here, and in fact, I would like to share few points before we move on to uh, before we move on ahead in the discussion. First and foremost thing is, today for all these interstate transaction, waiver of ISTS losses and charges are not given to exchange transaction. I think this is very, very important fact, important element, because when we are giving this to all the long-term PPAs, when we are giving this benefit to all the intrastate PPA where the trading is happening within intrastate, why on earth we cannot give it to exchange transactions? So here the price is discovered on competitive bidding basis. This is 100% transparent, fair platform where both buyers and sellers are coming and meeting their requirement. I think this is one place where we have to work on. We must do something most urgently to ensure level playing parity in the market-based option and create a level playing field. Another thing where I have some concern is, today we have created RTM market, right? So suppose
Right.
I am a RE generator and I have some power available to sell, and I am placing my bid in, let's say, DAC or intraday market of exchange, and for some reason it is not getting cleared. When I'm saying DAC or intraday market, I'm talking about green market. And for some reason there are not buyer or price matching is not happening. My demand is more, seller is not willing to pay so much. So for some reason, suppose it is not getting dispatched, then I have second option available, which is real time market, where I can dispatch this, right? So we need to have some mechanism in place where we can identify green power little distinctively. So suppose any green generator is selling in RTM market, we should we should be able to give him REC to the extent of power he has sold in the conventional. When he is competing with conventional power, his power is little special. It has got green attribute also attached to it. We should acknowledge it and we should allow them to get REC when they are participating there. Second important fact here is, we should also, because we know that the biggest problem of RE is intermittency, right? The variability. So all of a sudden your forecast will go down. It is more so in case of wind, where we have seen it going haywire. So you have projected something, forecasted something, and it is not even 10% of what you had forecasted. So in such cases, we should also allow these generators to come to the market, come to the real-time market, buy from real-time market and make good their commitment, right? So this recently, very recently, for IPPs, conventional IPPs, where revision is not allowed, we have, in fact, this provision has been extended for them. So similar provision should be given to these participants as well, so that they can also make good their commitment by buying from these markets. So I think these are some of the things which is readily coming to my mind. Over
Right.
to you. We can always add something
Yeah,
to it.
I'm glad that you mentioned and you brought up the topic of intermittency that the RE introduces, and I think that has only led to some of the states, maybe say Andhra Pradesh or a couple of other states, either restricting the banking through open access or not permitting it at all. So I think banking, at least that's what I hear from the my interactions with the industries also. What are your views, Dipali and Rohit? On the banking through open access, should there be because again each state has a different way of charging for banking. Some charge at the injected energy, some charge at the delivered energy, and some permitted for monthly. Is there a way? I mean, what's the way across this? Should we go for a central banking framework like the methodology for the cross subsidy surcharge is defined through the national tariff policy? What are your views on this? I think Dipali, I mean, would love to hear from your experience from Maharashtra on this.
Basically, every RE generator wants to have a very good and healthy banking facility in the state. Because as see from last 1 year, we have the provision of trading or injecting the green power in exchange and all. But see, RE power is always inform power. So when when we have a strong banking facility, it should be a nationwide because see, we nowadays we talk one nation, one grid, and all these things, and we have a very types of policies of every state. Every state is having a different policy. Just for example, RE charges are exempted in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, I think, from your chart. And Maharashtra is charging double the transmission charges on RE power open access. What is the logic behind that? We want to really, we want to promote the RE. And see, like this, that's why every industry or as a RE generator, we want to have a central policy that should be that should be uniform for all the states. So
Right,
because environmental conditions of each state is different, somebody is generating more wind power, somebody is generating more solar power. If we have a concrete central policy, it, I think it will be easier for the consumers as well as the generators.
right, right. Rohit, your views on the banking, on the issue of banking?
Yeah. So my views are a little different, and it is coming from the fact that our target for 2020, sorry, to 2030 is we want to have 450 gigawatts of installed capacity in the country, and we also want to meet over 40% of the energy through non-fossil based resources, right? So I cannot imagine a situation where renewable is a majority power in the system and we are reluctant to do scheduling 100% as we are doing in conventional. We do not want to pay for deviation. Similarly, we also want to avail benefits of banking. See, point here is as the renewable will grow in the system, prices will start to hover around like anything. You will see that peak prices versus off-peak prices, there will be huge difference. We have seen in many countries, particularly Germany, Europe, many places in Europe where during the peak renewable hours prices are negative, right? When we talk about banking, so these are the things which state will ask. So many times, and when you are doing banking, it is not 100% on TOD basis. Now, at one point in time, power price is 12 rupees, some other time price is 0 rupees, and you are getting power from state where you are calling it banking and you are demanding it as your right. So who will manage it? Who will bear this additional cost? Today we know that because we are not charging renewable transmission cost for other conventional generators, it has gone up like anything. When POC regime was introduced in 2012, the average charges was 8 paisa, 10 paisa, 12 paisa per unit. Today, in some of the states, these charges is 54 paisa. So it is coming. It is See, we cannot get away with these charges. These are ultimately come to the consumer. Somebody has to bear it. Now, my only question is, till what time we can we can we will give must-run status to renewable? What till what time?
So then, just my one question. Then where should RE generator inject his surplus power or which is not contracted and the sudden increase? Where he should inject that?
So I'll share one
He should
example with you.
fully utilize the RE sources, no?
Yeah. See, Dipali, I'll share one example. See what happened. India is the only country globally in the world where we have a separate green market. Nowhere else, when you talk about, you see any of this European country where their total renewable is consumption is very high. They are routing every damn thing through the conventional market only. There is no separate market. There is just one market, irrespective of your fuel, irrespective of your source. You are placing bid in this market, and then market is deciding the price, and you are taken from that price. Everything is being done on the basis of forecasting and scheduling. You cannot be get away with forecasting and scheduling so long it is 5%, 7%, 8%. Somebody can bear the cost and it can continue, but our aspirations are very, very high. We want to become major player in renewable, and that time it will start to hurt us. And market has played very important role in integration of renewable in the system. So where all these names I am taking again and again, all these places, market size is 50% to 90% of the total consumption of these countries. And we are only at 4 5%. So what we need to do is we have to invest in forecasting going forward. We have to have forecasting tools in place so that, to answer your question, so that we should take judicial call when to sell, when to consume, when to bank, if at all banking provisions are there, and how to utilize that.
But
That discipline we should indulge
go
that
ahead,
discipline.
Dipali. Uh, Go ahead, Dipali. I think you were trying to make a point.
Yeah, okay. It was just saying that we should build that discipline and we should develop the forecasting. We should invest in that.
Right.
Absolutely.
But I have a, I mean, just being a, devil's advocate or trying to bring a different point in. Say I'm a, I mean, maybe because this is coming from Dipali or maybe Rohit because you are experienced in the sector. But you see, there's a recent trend of new corporates, in India, large corporates committing to renewable energy. Say 100% renewable energy, and probably they don't understand this sector of open access where series of 10 charges are levied. They'll have to develop capabilities for banking, forecasting, scheduling, and that probably would mean incurring a lot of costs for them. So what are your views on this, on enabling other mechanisms which are simple for them? For example, REC is just a mechanism where you buy normal power and you simply buy a certificate that certifies that that power is now converted from brown to green. It's very simple for a corporate like, say, I don't know, Amazon or say Flipkart, who wants to who wants to show that their power is green. And I think, coming to the point that RECs mostly have been promoted as a mechanism for meeting RPO obligation and not really voluntary greening of power. So, what are your views on this? I mean, because in our view, this is only going to increase in the future, where most of these REs, where most of the corporates are going to commit on renewable energy consumption, and they're going to face pressures from banks and investors to show these green credentials. I think that open access it's still a fairly bit complicated mechanism for them in this regard.
Buying RECs, in my view, is just a financial contribution towards the development of green market. The REC market and RPO obligations, what I'll say is still time not established. As far as Maharashtra, there are so many litigations are going on. You're putting RPOs retrospectively. even on cogeneration, CPPs. There is mess of litigations and views. Am I right, Rohit? Sir?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we are putting, matlab CRC has recently passed a sumo to order for the base and forbearance price.
Right.
Against, see, base price is zero and forbearance price is 1,000. The rates are coming down for REC. But then from generator point of view, it's not viable. See, then again, wind association is in, has been in litigation. So that's why I think the trading stations are suspended for RECs and all that. So everything is hotspot, you can say, from REC market point of view. And
Come,
if any industry really wants to go green in power, they should buy a green power. And that's why I'm saying the open access regulations are to be simplified. The charges, there should be a mechanism to so that the landed price it should be
right,
viable for industry for us.
right, right.
So that will
So,
really help India in matlab going green.
right, right. But coming back to your experience, or what Indorama is doing, you mentioned that Indorama has future plans of going green by shifting some of its load. So, what is what mode do you plan to go for that? Is it that you're going to rely on RECs, or is it going to be
No,
open
no,
access? And what kind of mode, and what's the rationale behind choosing that?
basically, at this our existing generation facility, developing a captive plant for RE is not feasible. The quantum will be around, say, just hardly 1 megawatt. It is not sufficient for the expansion. So what the other solution, other revenue remains? Either open access or go in the model of group captive. Open access, again, the landed cost will be much more because I'll have to pay cross subsidy surcharge, I'll have to pay additional surcharge. Moreover, the transmission charges are double for RE cases here in Maharashtra. So, cost, landed cost will not be a viable option for the project.
Right,
So
right.
we are the third one is group captain. So really we are matlab, seriously interested developing a choosing a group captive mode for our RE
Right. Right. No, I
application.
understand the economics rationale behind it, but are the motivations for Indorama to go for renewable energy more economic reasons, or committing towards increasing the share of RE?
It's a increasing of share of RE because now Indorama is a global company having existence in almost all 4 5 countries. So
Right.
Indorama India under the flagship of Indorama Ventures. Indorama Ventures is having their own goals, sustainability goals. So definitely we want to give a good environment to society, to its employees and everything.
Right.
That is the reason why we want to switch over on green power for the enhanced capacities at least, the capacity additions which we are planning. And really we are very, matlab, very good amount of capex we are going for this reduction of energy consumption and going to procure the green power
Right. Right.
globally, not in India. India, so we are just exploring the things.
Right. And I think you mentioned that captive group model is the one that probably becomes the most
Really,
economic. Right.
really.
Right. Or have you also explored or thought of exploring the new mechanisms like GTAM per se, which has been recently launched, but has that been the on the table for discussion?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But again, to source power, green power through GTAM, there will be issues of open access from the storm, and that is
Right.
the basic difficulty, basic hurdle which we face. as an industry. Again, the open access permissions, again, this thing.
So your
Again,
experience
again
on the
cross subsidy surcharge on the green power which we source from exchange.
right, right. So what has been the challenges on ground in with open access in getting permissions and so I mean with especially your experience with the discoms or with the state agencies.
We started our journey of open access since 2009.
Right,
So we were the pioneer industry in Maharashtra which opted for the open access. But then first year we got cheaper, Mildia. Second year we didn't get the renewal of the open access permission. Then the battle started with the state this time. There were so many litigations, and even there is a benchmark case which Apple has given in 2011. Even DISCOM raised question about the jurisdiction of commission in giving the
right,
open access to industries and all that. So it has been a very long battle with the DISCOM. Then finally, we explored one more avenue since we are connected to the state transmission utility. Let us let us detach from DISCOM and explore the option of complete transmission of an access user. And we got success in that in 2015. And after that, the concept of transmission open access evolved in Maharashtra at least. We
right,
actually explored the same thing from the National Transmission Open Access Regulation, but
right,
we didn't have state regulations till time. This option was not available in the state regulation. So in 2015, Maharashtra came up with the concept of complete transmission of an access user. So that was the third option for us. And then from 2015 to this 2019, we enjoyed the flexibility of sourcing power at a very competitive rate from exchange, a day-ahead market,
right,
the most
right.
flexible market for industry.
So clearly navigating getting permissions with the discom has been an issue,
Very,
the
very difficult.
biggest open access challenge. But Rohit, I'll come on on this to you. I think the fundamental question of open access lies, or the root cause is actually the inherent cross subsidies in the sector. And I guess till they are phased out from the tariffs, the states will keep imposing these regressive charges, say additional surcharge or cross subsidy surcharge. What, as per you, is a way out? I know, we know that the government last year came out with the electricity amendment bill on phasing out of the cross subsidies, mandating states to do that in a time bound manner. What has been your view and your experience? What does it say about the cross subsidy issue?
Yeah, so this is one of the major hurdle we are facing since last so many years. In fact, in 2017 or 16, when the new uh, policy came, wherein they gave the new formula for calculation of open access of the cross subsidy.
Yeah,
Certain states, in fact, if you go by what is said in the act, ideally it should have gone down. But there were many states where they have drastically increased or this CSS. They had increased it drastically, which are by just putting 20% of tariff as a total cross subsidy. So this is what we have seen happening in the past, and this is one of the major problem that is not letting open access grow the way we wanted it to grow. Just I will also like to mention few things about what Dipali has said. So for sure, what we need is rationalization of overall open access charges. So there are so many of them, right? We have billing, STU, CTU, so many charges are there. If we can rationalize it, if we can reduce these number of charges, if we can make this calculation little simpler, then it is good for industries also. They can also take their call, and overall for the markets also it would be beneficial. Second thing is, between if we compare between intra and interstate transaction. So when we are talking about interstate transaction, we are taking benefit of diversity in the country. So when you are participating at let's say interstate GTAM platform, probably you are buying power from some generator who is selling it, who is a small hydro generator in HP, Himachal Pradesh, and selling this power through interstate mode, right? But when you are in your own state, then it is purely dependent on potential of that particular state. You are in Karnataka, you are lucky. You will probably get both solar as well as non-solar power at a cheaper price. But yes, if you are somewhere in some other state, particularly in eastern side, you will not get access to that power. So there is place for everything, and group captive is definitely when you are putting your own plants, and if the cross subsidies are not levied, it makes commercial sense for you, right? So that option will always remain. So I think few point that we must take from here is rationalization of open access surcharge, and what you said, Nikhil, we have to reduce cross subsidy, we have to phase them out. Government has initiated so many different things. Central government have been working so rigorously in the past. They have come out with so many new formulas, but we could not achieve what we wanted to, particularly in some states where it has been very rigorously opposed. State like Maharashtra, where open access participation is very limited. So we have to work on all these things to ensure, but the ultimately the solution lies is interstate transaction. So what benefit we have taken in the conventional power today? Majority of the generators who are situated in Chhattisgarh, they are selling to open access consumers spread across the country, right? So basic IPPs are situated there. They are near to coal mine. They have their efficient plant. They are uh, talking about economies of scale. They are getting best of the coal at the nearest to the plant. Odisha, same example. So these
Right.
things will we have to take benefit as a in terms of energy security for the country, and most in a most efficient way. This would be beneficial for the country.
Yeah, I suppose the how the power the project developers or the power producers navigate the interstate transaction is it through connecting to the transmission network directly, or how do they navigate? How are these producers in Chhattisgarh navigating it? If the state is imposing difficulties in giving
No,
permissions
so
for open
when
access,
we are talking about big IPPs, they are directly connected to CTU network.
right? That's
So
what.
for them, state doesn't come into picture. But otherwise, also uh, the regulations or state's attitude towards the IPP is not so bad. So we have seen across the country there are some small plants, small captive plants, or otherwise small plant who are connected to STU network also. They are given permission to sell power outside the
As
state.
far as
So that way things are little better.
injection, yeah, sorry. As far as injection point is concerned, there is no hurdle as such for the generator to inject power.
Yeah.
There we get the open access, I think, as per the SU guidelines and everything.
Right,
The
right.
hurdles of open access basically is for the consumer point of view. Am I right, sir?
Right, right. And I think this case is anyway more applicable for the IPPs because their plants are large. Probably a renewable energy developer connects at a lower voltage level, probably at a distribution level at a 33 kV typically, if I'm right.
So normally these plants are at STU level, and
Okay.
so injection is never a problem. It was problem some time back when some of the states they imposed certain regulation wherein you cannot sell outside your state. But today that problem is not there. But yes, a problem of high STU charges, problem of high POC charges, CTU charges, these will remain.
Right, right. So I want to also quickly jump in on some of the issues, especially with the GTAM market. I wanted to kind of highlight some of the issues with that. What I understand from the whole narrative of or the whole motivation of government in creating GTAM was to give a fillip to the merchant capacity creation. But as per industry interactions, and also you mentioned that most of the sell side liquidity that's there on the GTAM market is coming from discoms which are surplus in their RPOs. So and I think that's also one of the reasons that in the last few months there has been a decline in the volumes in the GTAM market, and there has been a steady increase in the prices. So yeah, Rohit, just coming on this, what's a way to kind of promote merchant capacity through GTAM? Because clearly it's not happening. And if you see most of the developed countries which are high in their RE shares, they have extensive merchant capacity creation, which is kind of fueling their RE targets.
Yeah. So Nikhil, see, idea was when we started thinking about this market. So we were also aware. In fact, government was also aware. This will eventually, over a period of time, pave way for creation of merchant capacity in the sector. So, in fact, when this was launched by Minister himself, so in fact, everybody, in the government and otherwise, they were of the view that going forward from medium to long term, we will see some creation of capacity. And there are, in fact, some more regulations which are in the process of being amended to suit this. That tomorrow, if you have 85% of long-term PPA, you can take connectivity for additional 15%, which you want to create only for the purpose of merchant capacity. Certain regulations are in the pipeline, some has come, some are in the will come eventually. So we never expected that within 5-6 months this capacity will come. All the developers, they are monitoring this market very closely. They are seeing the pattern, they are seeing how accurate their forecasting is. They are taking reference from our prices and then doing comparison, running simulation, that what sort of realization would have happened to them if they have sold this power to the market, right? So all those
Right.
calculation, all these analytics is being done by all the developers, and in a due course of time. And another thing is we are seeing this long-term tariff falling drastically, right? We have gone below 2 rupees level. And here the prices in last 3-4 months after the revival of economy, after revival of C&I consumers, industry have revived, we have seen this prices going up. So it was never anticipated that it will come in for 6 months, but yes, going forward in another few quarters, we are expecting some developers to start working on creating this capacity. That is one. And second, you also spoke about in high prices. So when
Yeah.
we have seen prices increase and we have seen volume going down. Volume going down because August, September are generally good months, as far as October also. September and October also are generally good months in terms of high generation, right? Small hydro generation is normally high during those months. Wind generation is also good. And solar is also good because in the northern part, particularly when you have extreme wind condition, foggy condition, your solar generation also takes a dip. So it's not a right comparison, I would say. And for the prices, what happened is all of a sudden, because of increase in demand, there is some impact on the prices also. So our prices have also increased by some 15-20%. And same reflection is being is we are seeing in GTAM. So in the GTAM, when any seller is quoting price, so they are taking reference of our last day price of day ahead market and then adding some component, 80, 90
Right.
rupees or 1 rupee, which is towards REC, right? Green attribute of that green power. So those things are taken into consideration, and that is why, because the prices in the conventional side went up, so there also we have seen some increase in price. But otherwise, things are pretty much same. Capacity will come gradually; it will take its own time. And again, once the high renewable season will start, we will start to see the renewable transaction going up again.
Okay. I also wanted to know, I maybe dive a bit deep on the various market segments for GTAM because there are a host of products. There is day ahead, there is daily, there is weekly, there is day ahead contingency, there is intraday, and I think the daily and weekly products were recently launched. They were initially not launched. And what has been IEX experience in this? Because I think that the day ahead contingency is the most voluminous segment. But if I what I from a layman perspective understand that if I were a corporate, I would rather prefer a weekly or a longer duration contract because definitely if I don't understand the sector that well, because that will guarantee that kind of quantum for me. So what has been the industry's ask in terms of these product segments?
Yeah. So we launched daily as well as weekly in the month of December, 5th December, and earlier the two things we launched in on 21st of August. So we have seen transaction in all the segments. We have seen good transaction in daily and weekly also very recently. And to your point, what should be ideally their preferences? See, as I mentioned today, most of these sellers sell is coming from discoms. Now, discom sell is dependent on their own demand. Saturday, Sunday, when their demand is going down, they have more quantum to sell. On weekdays, where they have forecast of very good demand coming being in place, their overall quantum is very less. So because of these reasons, we have seen DSE particularly, which we started on 21st of October, doing exceptionally well because they are doing it, monitoring their demand on daily basis, and in the afternoon, in the late evening, all these transactions are happening for next day. So DSE means it happens after day ahead market. So as a consumer, you are aware how much quantum you got from day ahead market to meet your next day demand. As a seller also, after day ahead market result is published, you are aware how much quantum you got and what sort of surplus you have. So as and when, and in fact, all the weekly transaction, what has happened in the past, or daily transaction up to 11 days, which has happened in the past, is more by some of the generators who have dedicated some quantum available to sell in this market. There are some few small generators, they have some 100 to 40, 50 megawatt of quantum available. So their preference is weekly market because on the basis of timing, on the basis of their expectation of price, they place their bid, and if it is done, then they are done for entire week, right? They don't have to come to this market again and again. But Discom's preference today is this market, DAC market, because of the variability. As and when we will see more merchant capacity in the system, we will see daily and other things also being preferred by those generators.
Is there a number that you can put to the share of, say, merchant versus discoms that are
Oh,
selling?
I'll try to figure out while you uh,
Okay.
not readily available. I'm sorry for that.
No, not really available. Okay, no worries. But I also wanted to know your and Dipali's views on what's the future for the GTAM markets. Are we going to move towards more longer term contracts, maybe forwards and future contracts, which are of duration maybe of 3 months or 6 months? Because if I were a corporate, I would see it, contracting in one go. That would be an easier mechanism for me than going for something as complicated as open access. So yeah, I would love to know your both of your views on this.
May I say so?
Yeah, please go ahead,
You
Dibali.
please.
Yeah.
As far as industry point of view, unless the production and the industry where production capacities get stabilized. See, day ahead market, what we see from industry perception is the most flexible. We can plan our production activities a day before. We know what we are going to produce and what will be our captive requirement for them. So that is the most flexible and preferable platform. That is it. The new corporates are planning a power requirement or source of power before 3 months for the next 3 4 months. But if we have the available source of day ahead, so if you have the day ahead source available, and unless the complete industry gets stabilized after matlab, this corona, COVID, and this thing, we cannot stand. We don't know as of now what will be our planning, what will be our conditions say after 6 months. For cyclical industries, it's difficult to plan. But from industry point of view, if we have a chance to plan a day before, then why should then go for the longer term contract? That is one perception. The other one is ठीक है 3 months का 4 months का contract करके let's uh, so definitely a term ahead market will be the what do you say uh, confident give the confidence to the industry that we are specific. Then again the generation point of view. If our generator should also of the opinion that he should pack a contract for next 3 4 months.
Right.
Not a bigger, but say 3 months and 6 months is okay. 3 months and 6 months. But
Right.
I
I
don't
think
think
I think it
nobody will
varies.
prefer to have a long-term contract, say 25 years and a year contract, not even a year contract
Right.
from industry perspective.
Yeah. I think it would vary for an industry or maybe for a corporate, which is say a building kind of load. Again, that would vary, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So, Rohit, any views on the longer term contracts and on GTAM? Are you looking towards that?
Yes, Nikhil. Thanks for asking this one. See, what happened is, why today we have limitation of 11 days, because there is a jurisdiction issue between SEBI and CRC, and these are beyond 11 days. It is considered as a forward contracts, and CRC cannot do that now. Right? They cannot. They are not empowered to do. But now the agreement has taken place. Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Power, CRC, SEBI, all of them, they have decided, they have agreed on that anything which is delivery based will remain with CRC. So all those forward contracts which are 100% delivery based will going forward will have CRC will have jurisdiction on that, and the derivative contract, the commercially settled contract, financially settled contract, SEBI will be the regulator for that. Now, after this understanding has reached, we have already filed petition with CRC for which will allow us to go beyond 11 days. So our target is monthly contracts also, where you can do monthly contract for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, again as per your requirement. And we are also in the process of launching annual contracts. So very soon, once we have this approval in place, it probably will take 2, 3 more months. We will have these two contracts in place, and there is a requirement, for sure there is a requirement. As Dipali mentioned, again, industry also, they categorize their demand as a base demand and then the variation in demand, which happens, which they can
Right.
fulfill using day ahead market. And now you need contract for all these different contract for these different type of demand. So for any base load, you are willing to enter into a monthly contract or multiple month contract, and you will come to for day ahead market, 1 day forecast, and immediately if there is some correction or balancing is to done, you have RTM in place. So every contract has its own merit, and globally also we see all these contracts work in tandem. They are accepted. Uh, at one point in time, you can buy power for different time intervals. All those possibility will be there, and very soon we will have longer duration contract as well. This would be for conventional as well as for green tap. So in both the segments, we are going to launch these contracts in coming few quarters.
Right, right. Yeah, I guess this is pretty much dependent on the how the regulatory landscape moves, and yeah, hoping to see the longer term contracts in future as well. So I just wanted to ask maybe one final question to a small question to Dipali, and maybe then we can jump into the question and answers because I see some questions and would definitely like to answer those. So Dipali, just coming again to the point of the motivation behind going green for an organization. I was just wondering that if from a pure economics perspective, if you had to compare, say, an REC mechanism versus an open access or GTAM, which is more which do you think for Indorama is more feasible or for a typical industry? Because on one hand you have GTAM where you pay, say, RECs where you pay, say, zero point 0.5 rupees or 1 rupee extra on the top of a discount tariff, but it's fairly easy, and fairly easy to access, and you can do that by the RECs at the end of the year also. And on the other hand, you have the open access mechanism, or maybe through captive or through third party, where maybe you will also be required to forecast and schedule, and it's a bit more complicated. You'll have to build another team for that. So how does this work? Is the motivation purely economics in this case?
Yeah, definitely it will be for any industrial consumer. Economics will play a very important role. But see, every time industry never sees the economical point of view. If you have certain goals, pre-set goals for sustainability, growth, then definitely the GTAM option will prefer for GTAM option instead of going for REC. See, unless you have an RPO obligation, one will not go to buy, I think, REC. And definitely the REC number will also go down if the GTAM market gets established and
Right.
the consumers started going and buying through the GTAM market. Definitely REC generation will also come down. When you are
Right.
selling a power as a green power, REC will not get generated in that case. No?
Right, right. I think REC volumes have definitely seen a decline in the last
Yes,
1 year,
yes.
particularly because of that
Because
reason.
RE generators are getting platform to sell the power as a green power through exchange also.
Right, right, right. So
So definitely REC percentage, REC generation will definitely come down in that case. When industry started going,
right.
industry will start going towards the GTAM market.
So, building on from this, and also, I see some of the questions on, there's a question on, what's the outlook for virtual PPAs in India? Rohit, maybe probably I'll get to you. What are your views on these alternative mechanisms that can be facilitated, new mechanisms in India, maybe like virtual PPAs or even green tariffs, which are very common for, countries like US or the Germany, where you pay a specialized tariff and you claim for 100% renewable. It's fairly simple. What are your views on these new mechanisms for India? I think you're on mute. Uh,
Yeah, so I strongly feel that now time has come, we should start exploring these new ideas, particularly virtual PPAs, virtual power plants. It has got its own merit, right? At one place, if you are taking some, there are some people who are taking position in between, and our market has matured over a period of time. We have gathered, we have collated enough liquidity in the system. Participants are aware of market behavior now. We have a strong base of trading licensees who are there, who are willing to do such business. Today, we have reduced most of this trader and members to doing nothing but doing small things like placing bid on behalf of somebody else. So we should have marketplace where we can create larger role for these intermediaries, larger role for power exchanges, wherein their people are there who are taking position, and again their gain or loss is also dependent on their calls how they are taking. We are in process of introduction of derivatives also in the country. It
right,
is also again linked to the same concept, CRC and SEBI jurisdictional issue. Once that is sorted out, in fact, some of the commodity exchange, they have created those contracts and then they have started meeting people, starting reaching out to their regulator for getting approval. So, along with derivatives, we should also consider VPPs, wherein uh, larger value can be created within the system for the benefit of end consumers. So, all these ideas are most welcome. We should work towards them.
yeah, I think government has been pretty responsive towards creating market mechanisms and let the market discover the prices or move the sector ahead.
Yeah.
So, thanks for that, Rohit.
Nikhil, just one thing, one more thing. This will also lead to probably it can go in the direction of creating CFDs, right? CFD based
Right,
market models, where all other countries they have already adopted it. Everybody started with REC sort of a concept, right? Then eventually they moved to
contract
CFD
for
model
differences.
variant, because you cannot create huge capacity unless you have right framework in place. So eventually it should go in that direction.
Right, right. Dipali, I think we have a question for you from Ashwin Gambhir, who asks you to talk a bit about the grid support charges that were imposed by Maharashtra for the renewable energy open access.
Basically, the grid support charges which Maharashtra Discom has mentioned in its recent tariff, it's for the solar captive solar generators, those who are having the consumption behind the meter, and those who are not opting the net metering or the net metering option with this state grid. So grid support charges is basically for them, not exactly on the RE based open access. It's on the RE generators, the solar power generators, the companies who are generating solar power from their rooftop, installing the panels on the rooftop and consuming the power behind the meter.
I think beyond 2000 megawatt, right? Is the 2000 kilowatt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And those who are not opting, the net metering option.
right, right, right. Okay, thanks for that. Rohit, I have an interesting question for you. What can be done to increase the RE merchant capacity in India, as banks are not really comfortable in lending without a clear price view, and also with the falling solar prices, which may lead to a duck curve even in India. So, what are your views on lending for? Because I think this is one of the key issues that's going to come up in future for merchant capacity.
Yeah. See, lending, yes, today it's a problem, and we have seen in case of conventional also similar problem was there initially. Lending was done for 100% PPA based models, plans. Otherwise, it was not given. Many people in conventional side they entered into some sort of PPA with traders, and then they got lending done, and then they started selling in merchant. And then when they got good opportunity, they entered into long term PPA through various bidding which happened, let's say 4 5 years back. So I'll quote one. I'll share one example. One of the developer, when we had in-depth discussion with him, his view was initially the prices are good. Let's say 4 5 years, they have done their own set of calculation, and their expectation was the marginal cost of the country will be like this in next 4 5 years, and that marginal cost they have taken for the purpose of calculation of their return. And beyond that, what they said, after that, there would be some correction in the daytime prices because of the kind of solar we will get. And then they considered storage solution. Then they parallelly they did some calculation that by that time storage solution will be very very cheap. It would be, let's say, 20% of the cost that we pay today. And with that kind of storage plus renewable plus solar, then they have also done analysis of what peak prices would be after the solar cycle is over in the evening. And with the if they couple this with the storage solution, their overall realization can be more. So today they do not have 100% uh, cash flow, you can say inflow calculation for next 25 years only for solar. But yes, newer technologies will come. They have to couple it with different thing, and probably they can maximize their realization. See, today we have those options available where we can enter into long-term PPAs. Going forward, let's say after 2 3 4 years, it may not be there. We don't know. Today, even today, at such a lucrative price, not many states are signing PPA. So going forward,
Right.
and when the long term will not be there, then renewable addition will not stop. It will only increase. Then it would be 100% market based. Everybody, people will start to innovate. They will try to develop all this mix and match models, and then try to get maximum value out of these resources.
Yeah, I think there is also a case for maybe redesigning of the PPAs, maybe shorter duration PPAs, because in many other countries, say Portugal and Spain, they have discovered lower tariffs solely on the basis of this, that, for 15 years, they sign a contract with the state utility. And beyond that, it's all merchant, which they expect to sell in the markets. So I think market liquidity is I think at the center of that, facilitating market liquidity. If the developers are able to sell it in the market, then only I guess lenders will become comfortable with time on that. Right. So I think we're almost at the end of the discussion, but and I want to wrap up with, asking maybe one question each with you. I think it's the same question actually, because I think since open access is such a hot burning issue in India and has been plaguing the sector since a long time, Rohit and Dipali, what would be your maybe your top two or three recommendations to reform or rationalize the open access sector in India, so that corporates can go green more easily. Maybe starting with Rohit first.
Yeah, yeah. So there are some very evident things which are wrong. Let's, for example, I know many states they have shortage for large part of the year, and still they are charging additional surcharge. And why additional surcharge is there? Because you have stranded capacity, you are not able to utilize this capacity, so you are making your case to regulator who is approving your additional surcharge, and then you take one that approval. At the same time you go to regulator and ask him to approve short-term purchase for next 5 6 months because you need power during those months, and the same regulator is approving that also. I think these are some very, very clear anomalies which are there. Somebody has to take it up at the right forum. There are various forums which are available where we have to take it up and get these anomalies sorted out. I think this is causing real big problem for the participants. Another thing, few suggestions which is coming to my mind. Another thing is, even if you have some certain charges which are there, we have to give trajectory. So today, if 160 1 rupee 60 paisa is the cross subsidy surcharge, and everywhere, in fact, all acts, in fact, in the act, in the all the policy that government has framed, they always spoke about reducing this in a time bound manner, right? So
Right.
a kind of, we have to link it to some performance parameters, we have to link it to some lending, we have to link it to whatever is there in the control of the state government or central government. So we have to bring it down every year. It should come down by 10, 15, 20%. That trajectory should be given by all the regulators. Then probably we will see in sometimes these being rationalized.
Right. Right.
I do agree with Rohit sir. The main hurdles, cross subsidy surcharge and additional surcharge. These two charges are making open access a very typical issue. Basically, the way you impose the obligations on consumers. Government should hold accountable discoms also. See, in national tariff policy, we say we have to bring down the subsidy sector in a time-bound manner. We have to give the solutions. We have to create a roadmap. We have to give a roadmap. But since 2003, Electricity Act 2003, every time it's getting increasing. Even they are daring to propose it more than 20% also to the
Right.
regulators. It is clearly mentioned in the Act and National Tariff Policy. Cross subsidy in any way should not increase the 20% of the average cost of power you are purchasing or average cost of supply, power supply. But every time that is the issue, the DISCOM should be held responsible, but quite strict on that government should, the regulators should. And they should be held accountable,
Right.
but maybe
Right.
after proper audit, they
Yeah,
should
yeah.
be
I
held
guess it
responsible.
does boil down to the whole issue of inherent cross subsidies and poor discom viability in India, where India ends up being the only country with high industrial tariffs and low residential tariffs. While if you look at the other countries, they are quite the reverse. And so, yeah, I think guess the motivation for going for open access is not just for greening of the power, but also to reduce the cost because the discount tariffs are so high. But again, thanks a lot, Rohit and Deepali, for joining in and for sharing your deep insights. I think it was a very nuanced discussion, and we dove deep into key issues, particularly on the open access and GTAM front, and would definitely take up these issues in whatever stakeholders that we work with, be that Ministry of Power or the MNRE or the states, in rationalizing open access and promoting merchant capacity and GTAM market in India. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Nikhil. Thanks,
Thanks,
Dipali.
Nikhil.
Thanks all the
Thanks.
participants.
Thanks, Rohit.
Yeah. So the participants can find the video. This session is being recorded. You can find it on our website, which is cef.ceew.in. It will be available on our website for you to view later. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
thanks, Rohit.
Thanks.